Hello everyone and welcome to the next episode of Total War Through the Ages. Today we are going to be continuing the Northern Offensive. Right there we have a candidate for adoption, or was that a candidate for marriage? I think that was a candidate for adoption, which is actually going to work out pretty well. Surprise, surprise, the candidate was actually right here in the city down here, so I believe the name of the city is Nepta or something like that. Again, I'm terrible with the names. So here we are gathering our forces, and we're going to start sending him up, and he'll be picked up by a fleet and sailed on over back to Europe so he can actually be put to some use, because here in Africa we're done for the time being with our African campaign now that the Carthaginians are finally defeated. That happened last episode, and I'm really excited about it. So here we go, and we're going to be bringing him up here. Now, I was trying to figure out which area I wanted to go, kind of which one was fastest. I think I actually end up changing him, which you guys will probably see in one of the later episodes, but I think I actually end up changing the route he ends up going because it ends up being faster. So here we have this navy. We retreat back here, and we bring up our general, and we actually end up gathering a army together here to send across to recapture Cordoba, which is currently in the hands of rebels. So as you can see how I kind of was wondering what selection of troops I wanted to take, and I can't actually build any early legionaries here, so I'm stuck to basically using mainly Hastati. But I do bring the early legionaries that I do have available here, because of course we're going to need as much of the help as we can get. Actually, I might leave that one unit of early legionaries. I'm not sure if I do or not, so we're about to find out. But I also go and recruit an elephant, because I'm like, you know what, I haven't used elephants at all in Total War, in Rome Total War. So I was curious to try them out, and I also kind of thought, you know, hey, it would probably be a good idea. Having some mercenary elephants would probably be pretty useful. So we're definitely going to try and see, or we're not going to try, we're going to try and use them effectively, and we'll see how good they are in some upcoming battles. And there, as you can see, that was kind of the first tiny little step that we have the army going north, and here we are going to be bringing up more reinforcements, and now it's time to rally the forces. So we're going to send our faction leader to go and command the army that's going to continue the push northwards. Our goal is that settlement right there. You can see very clearly, pretty much directly north, a little bit to the west. That settlement is the target that we're going for. So we load up on a bunch of legionaries and some Hastati. Now we only have early legion. Well, we do have some legionaries. We have four. We have 4 units of regular legionaries, and the rest are all early legionaries. But that's not too big of a problem. I'm fairly confident. Even early legionaries are decent are solid at this point. They're better than the Hastati and Princeps we had before. So they can hold their own against chosen swordsmen, but of course legionaries are better. But here we have the Britons attacking us, and as you can see, this is actually very telling. The Britons, a bunch of their armies recently have been composed pretty, like at least a third to a half of their armies have been made up of mercenary units, and that's a telling sign. That means they haven't been able to recruit as quickly. And now again, I'm not sure to what level or what extent the AI in Rome Total War kind of cheats and basically just gets to spawn extra units. I don't know. Obviously, that's one of the complaints with I have and a lot of people have with some of the Total War games, is that the AI tends to cheat pretty heavily in that they can just raise armies out of thin air pretty much, and they don't have to play by the rules that the player has to, in terms of, like, you know, armies can take a time to recruit and build up. So, but it looks like it might be that the AI does have to play at least by some of the same rules as, you know, us players in Rome Total War, so maybe that's why they're having to rely more heavily on mercenaries than actual, just, you know, normal troops. That could be it. So here we have pretty standard checkerboard pattern deployment for me here. This is pretty standard. I always do this with the Romans, pretty much, almost always, and it usually works out pretty well. And now I do make a slight mistake here. I've deployed both my cavalry units on the far right, and I end up actually, like, before we actually get properly engaged, I actually send one of them over to the left. I should have just deployed them one left, one right from the very beginning, but I was like, I'll put them all on the right side, because, you know, hey, bad idea. And here we have, I'm taking a look at the enemy army, and this is actually one of the first battles where the enemy has a lot of chariots. Now, obviously, they did have chariots in some of the other battles, but this one they actually have quite a few chariots, more than I'm used to fighting, at least in an open field battle. I have fought against some of their armies that had And here you can see I already transferred over. But as I was saying, I have fought against some Briton armies that had quite a few chariots, but they were in sieges. And during sieges, chariots aren't nearly as effective, and they're a lot easier to deal with, particularly when I'm defending, which is when I face them. So here it's going to be very interesting because, again, I'm not as used to dealing with as many chariots. They have, I think, 5 units of chariots in this army that we're facing. No, I'm sorry. They have 4 units of chariots and then that 1 unit of mercenary cavalry, I think, because they have their general unit behind. They have the 1 unit of cavalry on the, chariots on the right, and then 2 units on the left. So, just to see, as you can see, I'm pulling my auxilia unit back. And again, I'm doing this because I want to pull them back because I don't want them to get engaged first. Actually, I'd rather have my early legionaries be the ones to be engaged so that the auxilia can rush over to wherever I need them to deal with the chariots. Because I have actually found that the auxilia are pretty good at dealing with chariots. Of course, the my regular infantry, legionaries, early legionaries, whatever, they can actually deal with chariots as well on their own, mainly by using their pila. Or pilum. I keep wanting to say pila. I don't know why, but their pilum does a pretty good job. But also, and so here I actually have to turn this unit around and fight because they were going to get caught out anyway. And I'm shifting some forces over to the right because you can see their cavalry and chariots. You can see just almost off screen there to the right. We're moving around my right flank, and here we have 2 units of chariots coming in. So I pretty much just have them, as many units as I can, charge in. Our cavalry did get caught out here. Again, that's something I need to work on, not letting my cavalry get caught out like that. And then, of course, they're actually, I believe that's their king, their faction leader, actually charged in there into the center. So we countercharge with our own faction leader. This is actually pretty cool. The leader of the Julii and the leader of the Britons are going at it, having an actual battle in the middle there. And I believe the enemy general actually routs here in a moment. Yep, there they go. Yep, enemy general's running away. They routed right there. And then at this point, pretty much with the enemy general routing, their entire center routes. I'm actually surprised that unit of mercenaries actually holds on for a while. Not for a very long time, but they actually hold out for a little bit. And then we have the second enemy army is coming up behind us. This is actually a kind of a setup that I've had to fight a few times now, where I fight the main army and the enemy army keeps coming up behind me, so I have to quickly reform my guys. But again, the enemy army that's coming up behind us is smaller, which is the good thing. So it's not like it's gonna be that big of a problem. I can just do a rough setup, which I do have enough time to do. And it's not that big of a deal that I don't set up perfectly. That's the thing. So long as I outnumber them at least a little bit, I usually don't have to set up as precisely. Of course, I always prefer to set up as precisely as possible, just because I'm kind of OCD when it comes to playing Total War games. Particularly, at least in my unit setup, I like things to be as perfect. You've probably noticed me have to be super precise when I'm doing the deployment. You might have noticed that. So. But anyway, back to the main battle. I'm using all my cavalry right now just to run down the enemy forces again, inflicting as many casualties as possible, and then right around fairly soon you'll see me actually start setting up. And they had this 1 unit that actually held on for a while there, though, and I believe that was a unit from the main army. But they finally do rout, and the chariots keep rallying, and that's really annoying. And actually, because some of these infantry units rally as well. But I do have a couple units of infantry here, as well as my cavalry that I can deal with these guys. And that's the reason I left a couple of those units of infantry, because I didn't want just my cavalry dealing with the enemies that would rally again, because just having my cavalry there, I may not have been enough to break them. If enough of the units rallied and they put up enough fight, I would take a lot more casualties with my cavalry, which I'd rather avoid doing if possible. We kill the enemy general there, or a enemy general. I believe the main army that we were fighting actually had multiple generals. And here we jumped ahead to the actual main engagement with the reinforcing army that's coming up behind us. It's not too bad. Now, they actually, half of their units charged forward and got engaged, and then the other half is sitting back there, you can see. And I don't know if those might be ranged units. That might be why they're sitting back. Actually, yeah, it does look like they are ranged units. So, the enemy chariots in this army actually they have 2 units of chariots, the general unit and then just a normal unit. And the unit on the right actually charged in, did a decent amount of damage, but they did actually break. And same goes for the general, of course. Yep, enemy general is fleeing as well, and we're going to try and, cavalry charge around here from the flank, and then pretty much at this point we're just kind of getting the rest of the infantry stuck in here. But again, I was a little bit conscious of the fact that... Was that the enemy king? No, just the enemy general, not the king. But I was also a little worried about, I didn't want to lose too many infantry, similar like I mentioned in one of the previous episodes, I believe. I don't want to lose too many infantry because I am going to have to fight a siege at the end of this. But as you can see, that's actually a really good battle for us. in terms of we inflicted heavy casualties. We didn't actually take that many casualties ourselves either, so that of course is always good. Now Trier, again, I'm terrible with saying the names, but forgive me, and that is besieged once again, but we can just keep recruiting new early legionaries to keep that fully stocked, so I'm not really worried about that. And we will eventually be trying to send an actual army up there to support it, basically doing like I did, where I send one army, capture a settlement, then I send a second army to actually fight an open field battle against the enemy, and then if we win assuming we win the open field battle, we'll able to kind of start a new offensive from there, similar to what we did with Narbo Martius. And there, as you saw, my diplomat was trying to get a peace with the Spanish, because I was like, I don't really care about, I mean, I'm going to take them more eventually, but if I could get peace with them, I'd go ahead and do it now, because hey, why not? I can go ahead and get peace with them, and then I don't have to worry about them attacking Narbo Martius while I'm doing the northern offensive. However, they didn't accept peace, so okay, we're going to take you over now rather than later. So, and as you can see here, I basically combined my legionary units until I had 3 units that were full strength, and I had 1 unit that had like 8 guys left, and I sent that back to Narbo Martius, because I'm trying to get a legionary barracks, or I can't remember what it's called, but it's the barracks building that allows the recruitment of actual full normal legionary cohorts, not the early legionaries. I'm trying to get that built in Narbo Martius. I think it's still going to be a decent amount of time before that actually gets finished, because I end up having to keep delaying my starting the construction of it, because I need the money elsewhere for more immediate necessities. But I am eventually trying to get to where I can actually recruit legionaries, because Rome, which is the only other main place I can recruit legionaries right now, at least in Europe. It's not Rome, I'm sorry, my capital, not Rome, but my capital, which is very close to Rome. It is too far away at this point, so I need to get a more forward position so I can recruit legionaries and continue having legionaries recruited that are closer to the front, and so I can keep supplying fresh troops a lot easier, especially as we start to expand farther north on this northern offensive. And here, meanwhile, back in Africa, one last thing, I actually bring this army back, take out the rebels because there were riots going on, kill the rebel army, and then I'm gonna be bringing that army back up, and again, eventually we'll get them to some ships and have them land over back on Europe. And now here we have, again, I guess this does technically count as a northern offensive, because we are attacking to the north, but this isn't part of the main northern offensive actually, but this is the retaking of Cordoba here, and I believe that will be the main feature. Oh no, I'm sorry, it won't be. I believe next episode will be the Battle of Tyre. We'll see at the end of this episode. We should see what's coming up next. But here we have, that's the army we're landing. We landed there. They have a giant army. The rebels have a very large force, but I was checking out, and they're mainly like peasants and militias. They're not very good quality units, which is good. So as you can see, I was looking through a couple settlements. I found one, stopped construction of that building because it was just queued up anyway. It wasn't actually being worked on, and that gives me enough money to purchase more mercenaries. Just I wanted to bolster my force because I knew this was going to be a very large battle, and I didn't want to. I didn't want to lose that battle, so I go ahead and start the siege, because I figure, hey, I'll go ahead. I'm not going to initiate the battle in the open, but I kind of want them to attack me in the open, which I'm pretty sure the AI will do. So with that, I pretty much just, like I said, hired the mercenaries, bolster my forces, just to make sure I had enough to make it to win that battle. And then here we have my our faction leader is continuing the northern offensive. We're getting very close to striking distance within the city. In fact, that should be either next episode or the episode after that we're able to besiege and hopefully capture that place. And here we have, yes, next episode will be the Battle of Cordoba. But that is all for today's episode. Thank you all for watching. Be sure to check back every Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday for Total War Through the Ages. And as always, till next time.